It's Wednesday, February 24th, and this is now on H&N.
He had multiple fractures.
Golf legend Tiger Woods is awake, responsive, and recovering after a lengthy surgery.
At least 6 months of recovery.
Connor Powell is live in California with the very latest.
One day after a brutal car crash that left him with serious injuries to both legs, Tiger Woods is said to be awake and is now recovering here at Harbor UCLA Medical Center as investigators try to piece together what caused yesterday's crash. The sports world is reeling.
This is a tough moment.
As Tiger Woods, one of the most successful golfers in history, recovers in a California hospital from a devastating rollover crash.
All the energy right now is going to be poured into supporting him in the days and months ahead.
Doctors at the Harbor UCLA Medical Center say Woods suffered severe compound fractures, requiring emergency orthopedic surgery to insert a rod, screws, and pins to stabilize his right leg and foot.
Tiger's had some really difficult injuries. The most important thing is his well-being.
An investigation is underway into the cause of the crash that occurred on a section of the roadway in Rancho Palos Verdes, known as a troubled spot for speeding and accidents.
This stretch of road is challenging, and if you're not paying attention, you can see what happens.
Officials say they do not believe Woods was impaired, but was likely driving at a high rate of speed.
There was no evidence of any impairment whatsoever. Yeah, this is what it is, an accident.
The crash potentially a devastating setback to the champion's hopes of returning to golf glory on the heels of his 5th career back surgery. Fans now hoping for another fairy tale ending.
Maybe after a long rehab, we've got another grand finale to this incredible career this man has had.
What this all means for Tiger Woods' golf career just isn't known right now. Doctors said yesterday surgeries were designed to stabilize his injuries, meaning there could be more surgeries in the future to help repair those broken bones. Live in Torrance, Connor Powell, back to you.
Hey everyone, we have some breaking news to pass along here on Oahu. There's been a heavy police presence in the past few hours near Young and Pensacola streets. We understand a barricade situation was unfolding there. Our crew at the scene saw police officers take a person into custody shortly after 11. Not much else is known at this time, but we'll have an update today on First at 4 on Kate Chanel. Now to the latest coronavirus numbers. The state health department is reporting 50 new cases today and 4 new fatalities. The breakdown by island shows 2 cases on the Big Island, 1 on Kauai, 24 on Maui, 16 on Oahu, and 7 residents were diagnosed out of state. Meanwhile, Oahu is preparing to move into Tier 3 on Thursday. Chelsea Davis explains what that means for you.
The new rules allow most gatherings to increase from 5 to 10 people, and there'll be no capacity limitations for restaurants, retailers, and churches. But social distancing is still an issue, and most organized teams are still sidelined.
We are going to go to the governor. I've asked our legal team to prepare the proper documentation and ask for a modification to Tier 3.
That modification is to allow youth and adult sports under Tier 3. The current framework doesn't allow it until Tier 4, which won't happen for at least another month.
We want to get people outside, especially our kids outside, so that they can enjoy the benefits that come with not just running and all the physiological aspects of participating in sports, but quite honestly, as an old coach, a lot of the mental aspects too.
The mayor first needs the health department's approval, then the governor's. Some parents and coaches tell us they were surprised to hear the mayor hasn't already submitted his request.
A little bit disappointed. We were really hoping that we're going to have some kind of announcement for the kids to get out and at least start practicing as a team. Hopefully get out and maybe scrimmage or play games.
The move to Tier 3 is also getting mixed reviews from some eateries.
So our restaurants can be able to operate at full capacity.
While restaurants will no longer have capacity limits, they still must follow the state's social distancing rules. Places like Liko's in Hawaii Kai already have their tables situated 6 feet apart. That leaves no space for more customers.
Most people have their tables already configured. They know where they need to place them to achieve that 6 foot. And then if you're pulling tables together, it starts to kind of jumble up the equation a little bit.
Tier 3 also allows up to 25 people at funerals, 50% capacity on boats, and no limits on helicopter tours. For a full list of changes, head to our website. Chelsea Davis, Hawaii News Now.
Just a short time ago, many of the state's unemployed workers rallied in front of the Department of Labor and Industrial Relations building downtown. They're urging the state to take action and improve the outdated unemployment system. The group then marched to the Capitol. It's an effort by the Hawaii Workers Center along with various community organizations and unions like Unite Here Local 5. We talked to some of those taking part in the event this morning on Sunrise.
Our members are really struggling right now, and we're really worried because it's been almost 1 year. March does make 1 year since most of the hotel workers have been laid off, and we're still laid off. And we're frustrated that the state doesn't seem to be helping us out and pushing things like SB 588 through and workers' recall rights. And then when we're moving from the PEUC to the EB20, there's a real time lag going on. And workers are going as long as 4 months without getting paid. And we've all lost our medical. Everyone that's been laid off since March has lost our medical, and our family COBRA coverage is almost $1,000. So now we're going months without getting any money at all. Plus, we don't have medical, and we need to pay for our COBRA because it's not being funded through our employers, and the state's not really helping us with medical. And so we're really in a bad spot right now.
The FDA now says Johnson & Johnson's COVID-19 vaccine meets the requirements for emergency use. Natalie Brand has more on that and other coronavirus developments from across the mainland.
The coronavirus pandemic has triggered shortages of critical supplies, prompting President Biden to sign an executive order to review supply chains for key products, including computer chips and pharmaceuticals. The executive order will also call for a year-long review of defense, public health, and transportation.
The last year has shown the vulnerability we have in some of the supply chain, including the PPE.
The president hosted a bipartisan group of lawmakers as these shortages have impacted key U.S. sectors, such as car manufacturing.
These little chips here for automobile causing some lines to slow down.
The meeting also comes as the House has scheduled a vote Friday on President Biden's $1.9 trillion COVID relief package.
The House Democratic Caucus is going to strongly support the American Rescue Plan.
This bill is too costly, too corrupt, and too liberal.
The Biden administration announced Wednesday it will send out more than 25 million masks to communities hardest hit by the pandemic from March to May.
These masks will be available at more than 1,300 community health centers and at 60,000 food pantries nationwide.
And the administration says if FDA advisors grant an emergency use authorization for the one-dose Johnson & Johnson vaccine later this week, it will be in position to ship out 3 to 4 million doses next week. An FDA review of the J&J vaccine found it to be safe and 85% effective at preventing severe illness, 66% protective overall, taking some new variants into account. Natalie Brand, CBS News, the White House.
Police say the suspect accused of stabbing a man to death in broad daylight in Hawaii Kauai remains in custody. 23-year-old Jake Edwards is facing a murder charge. He's believed to be homeless. The stabbing happened around 10 a.m. yesterday near the intersection of Hawaii Kauai Drive and Hahaione Street. First responders found a 23-year-old man dead with stab wounds. Witnesses told investigators they saw Edwards and the victim arguing before the fatal attack. Edwards allegedly ran off, triggering an hours-long manhunt and a lockdown at Hahaione Elementary. Police caught him just before 1 p.m. This man saw it happen.
The helicopter was getting closer. I saw the police starting to converge, and from every angle, there was no way he was going to get away. I think he just gave in because there was just too many.
A GoFundMe page for the victim identifies him as Parker John Trantum. We spoke with the victim's father, who was too distraught to be interviewed, but he said his son worked in agriculture. A number of crime stories are making headlines on the neighbor islands. Steve Uehara has more on that.
The Maui Police Department is investigating an officer-involved shooting. According to initial reports, officers tried to stop Kaipo Lepena Lau for not having his tail lights on in Wailuku. This was just after midnight on Tuesday. Police say he gave false names at first, but then they discovered that he was wanted for several warrants. That's when he allegedly drove off, dragging one officer several feet. That officer was treated and released from the hospital. Lepena Lau reportedly fled, but then was tracked down about 9 hours later near Mill Street. Now, we're told officers opened fire when Lepena Lau tried to run them over. He was not struck and got away again, but then he was eventually captured in Waihe'e. Lepena Lau faces multiple charges, including attempted murder and assault on a police officer. We're learning more about a murder investigation on Hawaii Island. Police say Andrew Cawley was shot and buried in a shallow grave in Puna late December. The 34-year-old's body was found, this is on near Road 16 in the Aloha Estates subdivision on January 5th. Anyone with information is asked to call 935-3311.
Now to an update on Kitana and Cog. Police spent 3 hours searching for her body on Oahu's North Shore yesterday. Sources tell us they got a credible tip that the child's remains were in Mokulea, but they didn't find anything. The 18-month-old has been missing since February 4th. Her father, Travis Rodriguez, is charged with murder. His friend allegedly disposed of her body. Both men remain in custody. As we first told you yesterday as breaking news on This Is Now, State Representative Sharon Har, a proponent of tougher drunk driving laws, was arrested Monday night on suspicion of driving under the influence. Har apologized in a statement, saying she had one beer with dinner, but it interacted with her cough medication containing codeine. Now, sources tell us she refused to be tested for intoxication. Rick Dasog has more.
Sources say the lawmaker was driving against traffic on Beretania Street and was arrested near Pi'ikoi Street. The 52-year-old lawmaker was arrested on suspicion of operating a vehicle under the influence of an intoxicant. Several sources said Har, an attorney, refused to take a breathalyzer test. Political analyst Colin Moore says a drunk driving arrest is a big problem for any elected official.
Lawmakers are held to a higher standard. They're expected to obey the laws that they help craft. And so I don't think anyone should be surprised that this is getting extra scrutiny.
Back in 2007, Har was hit head-on by a drunk driver, and since then she's been a champion for tougher drunk driving laws. She's well known for her work on a law requiring anyone convicted for drunk driving to have an ignition lock device installed in their car. The devices, which won't let you start your car if you've been drinking, are credited for making Hawaii's roads much safer.
It reflects badly on the whole body when one of their members is arrested for a crime like this.
House Speaker Scott Saiki issued this statement, quote, "This is an unfortunate incident. We are wishing Representative Har and her family the best right now." Har's bail has been set at $500, and her initial court appearance is set for April 20th. Rick Dasog, Hawaii News Now.
Long's Drugs is offering vaccine appointments at 4 new locations. They are in Ewa Beach, Ainahaina, and Iwilei on Oahu, and on the Big Island at the Kailua Kona Longs. A spokesperson says roughly 4,600 doses of the Pfizer vaccine will be available. There are appointments as early as tomorrow. You can register right now at cbs.com. New at noon, Carnival Cruise Line is extending its cancellation of U.S. departures through May 31st. The company made the announcement today saying, quote, "We continue to work on plans to resume operations and are encouraged by the focus to expedite vaccine production and distribution, which are having a demonstrated impact on improving public health." A date for the return of cruise operations in the U.S. hasn't been set yet, according to Carnival. Customers can check on the status of their cruises on the company's website. A judge ordered Alaska Airlines to pay $3 million to the family of an elderly Hawaii woman who died after falling down an escalator in Portland. Our sister station's Jonathan Cho has the story.
I just wanted justice for my mom. That's all I was after.
Darlene Bloyd says this jury verdict gives her family some closure, but now they're waiting for Alaska Airlines to say sorry.
There was no apology.
An apology for the injury sustained by her mother, Bernice Kekona, which eventually led to her death.
She was coming home from Maui.
This is Kekona back in 2017, navigating through Portland International Airport in her motorized wheelchair, trying to board a connecting flight to Spokane, Washington.
That's all she needed, to get off one plane and get to the next gate.
Surveillance video shows the 75-year-old trying to get on an escalator. Instead, she takes a horrific fall. Kekona initially survived but later died from her injuries.
I look at it, but I walk away after. I still have a hard time.
Darlene Bloyd says Alaska Airlines gave multiple assurances over the phone that her mother would get gate-to-gate assistance.
Where was her escort? And what is she doing at the bottom of the escalator? Somehow there's a crack in the system.
Nearly 4 years later, a King County jury agreed and awarded Kekona's family more than $3 million, saying Seattle-based Alaska Airlines is responsible.
They claimed that they did offer gate-to-gate, which was totally false.
Attorney Robert Galatly represents the family.
This was a tragic failure of communication. Instead of standing up and taking responsibility, Alaska doubled down. They denied they did anything wrong.
It seems that this is an exception to the rule.
Aviation consultant Ernest Arvey says these types of egregious errors are rare for the airline industry, but says this verdict is also getting a lot of attention.
The benefit of some of these verdicts is they force the issue and to make the industry take a look and do what they've already done pretty well better.
It's unclear if the airline will actually appeal this multi-million-dollar verdict. From SeaTac, Jonathan Cho, Como News.
All right, I want to take you live outside now. A video feed coming into the H&N Digital Center from our tower cam downtown facing towards Diamond Head. Seen a little bouncing around out there. That's because there's some wind advisory. Also some surf's up on some east shores. Here's Billy V, who's in for Guy with an update.
Thank you very much. I'm Billy V sitting in for Guy Hoggy. Let's start with your forecast and we'll talk about the winds because that's going to be affecting almost everything with our weather. First of all, we have our alerts that we're watching very, very carefully. We have got high surf advisory, and that's in effect for the east-facing shores of all Hawaiian islands. We've also got wind advisory that's up for portions of Maui County and portions of Hawaii Island. You see that kind of in that yellowish. And then there's the small craft advisories that are in effect for most coastal waters, and there's also a gale watch for this area right in here. That's the Alii-Nui-Haha channel in between Maui and Hawaii Island. This is also affecting your surf with that trade wind swell over on the east side, 8 to 12 feet surf. That's a rising trade wind swell. That will get bigger, but once again, that's mushy, blown out. North shore is 6 to 8 feet. That's kind of a little bit overhead, but that'll be blown out as well. Let's go ahead and take a look at the rain and wind trend, and you can see that we've got winds coming in, high pressure up to the north. It's bringing in the trade wind weather, but it's also starting tomorrow, we've got enhanced moisture in the air. So that means we're going to get some windward and Mauka showers drifting leeward at times. And we should also note as we see that goes through the weekend and into next week. Now, when those winds come, 15 to 30 miles per hour, but gusts up to 45, 50 miles per hour. They come over the windward and Mauka sections up the Ko'olau, for instance, here on Oahu. When they come on the leeward side, they pick up speed as they go down. So that's going to be kind of dangerous. If you're in one of those areas where you know it always gets windy when the winds come up, you might want to take precautions. Breezy conditions, 15 to 30, gusts to 50, and they last all the way through Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. They get a little bit stronger also. 15 to 30, 20 to 30, and once you get into daytime high temperatures, about 80 degrees. Get the latest on air, online, on your mobile device, and at hawaiinewsnow.com.
Well, Tiger Woods' car crash comes as a new study is released on crash test and safety of vehicles. Nancy Chin takes a look at what cars are making the grade.
The Insurance Institute for Highway Safety performs a number of crash tests to determine if a car is safe. The group also measures headlight quality and accident prevention systems. This year, a record 90 new vehicles earned a Top Safety Pick, or Top Safety Pick Plus award, up from 64 last year.
It is indeed a big year.
IIHS President David Harkey says more vehicles made the grade because of auto braking systems and better headlights.
Casting more light down the road for the driver and eliminating that glare for the oncoming drivers.
The IIHS has yet to test the Genesis GV80 Tiger Woods crashed near Los Angeles Tuesday. The luxury SUV does have modern safety features, including multiple airbags. 2 other Genesis cars were tested and earned top awards, including the G70, which performed well in the roof strength test. Authorities say that is key in a rollover accident like Woods.
The interior was more or less intact, which kind of gave him the cushion to survive.
Genesis is part of the Hyundai Motor Group, which also includes Kia. Together, the company earned 17 awards, the most of any automaker. Mitsubishi was the only manufacturer that did not receive a single award. General Motors earned just 2 for the Cadillac XT6 and Chevy Equinox.
For the large number of vehicles that they produce and the models that they produce, We only had a couple of award winners for them, so we would like to see them step up their game.
The IIHS continues to test new models as they are released, which means more vehicles could soon be joining the list. Nancy Chen, CBS News, New York.
All right, we've been talking about this next story all morning, and it is quite the makeover,
yeah,
right?
You need to see this video, you guys. So a wild and ailing sheep found in a forest in Australia,
my goodness,
named Barack, get it, by rescuers, has yielded a fleece weighing more than 78 pounds, nearly half the weight of an adult kangaroo. That's the metrics I guess they use in Australia. So the sanctuary that took Barack in says it appears he was once an owned sheep because he at one time had an ear tag. Sheep need to be shorn at least once a year, otherwise the fleece continues to grow and grow, which is what happened here. Barack is now settling in with other rescued sheep at the sanctuary.
He looks decades younger.
I know.
That is a makeover.
That's a lot of
and
weight.
lighter. Yeah.
Oh.
He was just waiting for his COVID cut, really. Yeah. All right, I got another animal story for us. Check this out. A veterinary hospital in Oklahoma is calling this six-legged puppy a miracle. Her name is Skipper, and she has two pelvic areas, urinary tracts, and reproductive regions, and tails. She just is a few days old, but the vet says on Facebook that it's highly unusual for a puppy like this to survive. The hospital says Skipper's condition is the result of fertilized eggs trying to split but not fully separate. Pretty adorable still.
I hope she lives.
I
love
hope
her.
so too. Very cute, Skipper.
Yeah. So across the country, stadiums, concert venues, and sports arenas are starting to reopen as many see a decline in COVID cases. About half the teams in the NBA are either playing in front of fans now or will be soon. This report is from Mola Langi.
LENGHI. We started our day like every other employee who wants to get inside Barclays Center with a rapid COVID test. For fans, they're asked to bring along proof of a negative COVID test, taken no later than 72 hours before tip-off. And once arriving on site, undergo another test that takes about 6 minutes. The result delivered digitally.
Everyone will have on a mask.
Adina Irwin is the general manager of Barclays Center, one of New York's largest indoor venues.
We won't be in an arena full of fans. We'll be in an arena with 300 fans, and so everybody will be spaced out.
New York State health guidelines limit attendance to only 10% of arena capacity. Masks, they're mandatory at Barclays. Security, bag checks are now touchless. Food and drinks, they're all prepackaged. And they've upgraded the arena's air filtration system.
Now, liken it to 9/11. There's a lot that we still do that came out of that terrible experience.
New York, what's up? We finally here, man.
A few miles away at Manhattan's Madison Square Garden, they welcomed fans back by the thousands.
We don't know what to expect. Never been to a game in a 20,000-seat arena with 2,000 people spread out, but we're going to find out what it's like tonight.
The game was a delayed homecoming for New York Knicks rookie Obi Toppin.
I grew up going to Knicks games and being the person in the stands.
Toppin, who was born in New York City, was drafted by the Knicks back in November.
Toppin, a three-pointer. It's good.
During one of the worst stretches of the pandemic.
To have the opportunity to play on the floor and have not only fans but my family come out to watch me on that court is a blessing. New York is a basketball city. It's going to be amazing.
While only a few hundred fans were allowed here into Barclays last night, across town at Madison Square Garden, 2,000 fans caught the Knicks game under similar health safety conditions. New Yorkers are hopeful that Broadway will be next, with a lofty goal of reopening by the end of May. Mola Langi, CBS News, New York.
Yesterday we got the Vegas update, and now the New York update. Exciting to see this thing starting to come back to normal.
Agreed.
You guys, that's going to do it for This Is Now. We'll be back here at 4 at First at 4.